Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Today we've got Josh Elledge on the show. Josh, welcome.
Chris, thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. And before we get started, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick for the audience?
Yeah, sure. So, I originally from West Michigan and joined the United States Navy for 5 years. I was a Navy journalist. And, I absolutely fell in love with that work, mainly from the perspective of I get to serve audiences. I get to bring value to audiences. And one of the biggest influences on my life was a man named Adrian Cronauer, who was portrayed in the movie Good Morning Vietnam. And Adrian Cronauer spoke to our journalism class, and he talked about, the premise of the movie is he basically got in trouble for, advocating for his audience rather than the chain of command. And obviously that factored into his presentation, but just about what a sacred duty we have when you have a platform, not to use that platform for bad, but to use that platform to truly advocate for your audience, and your audience member truly is at the top of that chain of command. From there, got out, went to college, studied family science because I wanted to be a love doctor on the radio. That's how I thought I was going to fulfill my, Adrian Cronauer mission. And turned out that I really fell in love with internet development. So I became a geek. And I was always a geek, but that was the road that I took. A couple of years in corporate America, hated it. I was not good at working for the man, working in a cubicle, and so. From there, started a string of businesses. Now, 6 businesses in a row I started, and all 6 of those businesses failed eventually. Some of them were minor failures, just kind of skated into something else. A couple of them were rather spectacular failures. But my 7th business venture, Savings Angel, I launched that in January 2007, and that went on to become a 6-figure a month company. And I was very, very honored to be able to help consumers truly study and lead on consumer behavior, and just helping consumers save money, get hookups, upgrades, that sort of thing. Made so well over $6 million in revenue. And I got all of that with 0 paid ads. I built that completely from just being in the media. So being on radio, being on TV, writing a syndicated newspaper column, starting a podcast, being on podcasts, just bringing lots and lots and lots of value. And about 7 years ago, I started teaching this for free in our local startup community, working with veteran-owned businesses, minority women-owned businesses, startups, serving on boards, pro bono workshops, that sort of thing. And I realized that I actually learned quite a bit. I was actually quite skilled at brand building through media or platform. And so today, Up My Influence, we started as kind of a, more of a traditional PR firm, but today it's really all about driving revenue. So, so I work as kind of a virtual VP of sales, or as kind of a virtual chief revenue officer. And my job is to grow revenue primarily for consultants, agencies, service providers, B2B, and completely fill their schedule through generosity. And we'll kind of go through some of the elements, and we'll break that down exactly. So if there's someone that's, that is in business for themselves, they're listening to us, maybe they're a service provider, maybe they're a freelancer or whatever. I can tell you, if you listen to the rest of this podcast, I'm going to tell you how to make a lot of money today.
That sounds great. And that's an awesome promise for everyone listening, because like we talked about before I hit record, a lot of people in my audience are looking for sales advice, mindset. It's a whole package, right? You can't just be good at one thing and drop the ball on other things. It's kind of like health, wealth, relationships. You can't do extremely well at being healthy, working out, but then you let all your relationships go to hell in a handbasket, right? So how do we fulfill those needs of our clients, fill our pockets, obviously, with the money to pay the bills and the mortgages, while also doing it in a way that we give back to people instead of just always looking out for ourselves? I recently had, and I heard you talk about this at another podcast, Bob Berg on my show, co-author of The Go Giver, right? So I think we're going to talk a lot about that. Go Giver, Sell More. You're holding the book up right there.
Yeah.
That is an incredible author. And the concepts in that book are something that a lot of people still don't really grasp. I'm sure you get bombarded, right? How's your LinkedIn inbox right now with people trying to pitch you stuff?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, thankfully, they LinkedIn Sales Navigator kind of put the kibosh on friend requests, so it's better than it used to be. Now, if you're a marketer that was relying on that, well, sucks for you. Right. It's a bad situation, but it was unsustainable. What it was like before, today, but that's our email boxes. That's our, that's my Facebook news feed. Facebook just thinks that I want to see ads every third post. And we don't. Consumers are bombarded. We're swimming in ad messages. We're exposed to over 700 ad messages or brand messages every single day. And so as a result, if you understand where consumers' brains are today, consumers, and everybody is a consumer, have never been more resistant to being sold to. So, if your aim is just to pay money and be sloppy and uncaring about how you communicate with other people, or you're just Machiavellian and, sliding into DMs, inviting people into Facebook groups so you can backdoor them, on some kind of offer or whatever. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know how frustrating the experience is. And there is a better way.
Yeah, but and that's incredible.
I'll tell you, Chris, I want to let people know that it's not your fault. You've just been sold a bill of goods by a bunch of marketing gurus out there. And those marketing gurus have gotten plenty rich by promising you quick and easy riches by following some mechanical system that you could put your riches on autopilot. But the reality is, it just takes a little bit more, particularly if your offer is maybe a little bit higher value. So to my freelancer friends out there, agencies, service providers, that sort of thing, you definitely can't automate big ticket sales.
Yeah. And that's a great point to bring up, because I like how you said we've kind of been lied to in a way, because we've seen so many of the ads of people selling the dream is what I've heard people refer it to, right? They sell the dream. They kind of teach you a little bit, or you go to their little 2-day free conference or $100 conference, and they just let you know enough where you're interested and you want to pay $20,000 for the full year of coaching or whatever. Right. Yeah. And so what you said there as well, high ticket sales, you can't just automate that. There's a couple more things that have to be done there. So very good point there. And it's incredible too. I was going to say, how you scaled up your last business with, you said 0 ad spend, just relationships and connections. So can we talk about that a little bit more? And of course, I know you're going to share maybe like 3 or 4 steps or whatever, right? Let's go through them.
Yeah. So listen, and I want you to know too, be very skeptical of me. Be very, very skeptical of everyone. You deserve to. And anyone that says it's going to be easy or that they've got the secret, just take it all with a grain of salt. Spend your time, do your due diligence. If they put everything behind a paywall, move on to the next person, please. Because there's so much information that you can get for absolutely free that it's silly that someone says, well, if you pay $7, I'll grant you all the secrets. Like, just move on. Everything's on YouTube, everything's in podcasts, everything's on social media. You can learn this stuff for free. And when you get good and comfy and that trust level, now is at a 10, right? Then by all means, engage if you feel like, this is someone that you can really lock arms with. So I just want to put that out there, because again, unfortunately, there are a lot of snake oil salespeople. And what I've learned, Chris, is that time will promote or expose you. And, when I say time, I don't necessarily mean, days on the calendar. I mean, the more that you are spending time absorbing someone's content, they will absolutely reveal who they are. You might hear one thing that they say and go, whoa, wow, that was kind of out of character, but they just revealed themselves. So someone who truly has your need at heart, they're going to be fairly consistent, right? Or you might hear the way that they talk about their customers in a, disparaging kind of like, they're just numbers kind of way. That should be a red flag, in terms of like what's in their heart. Right. And I would say 2 things, right? Number one, you want someone that they are absolutely, their messaging is consistent. They are a giver. That's number one. Number 2, Did they do the deal themselves, or are they just a guru at being a guru, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, I read a bunch of books, and so now I'm going to sell you this thing because I've just consolidated all this information that I got from books and YouTube videos, right? Stay away from those people. They haven't done the deal. Stick with people that have credentials, that they've been through the school of hard knocks, because what I know, Chris, is that experience, there's many ways that we learn, right? There's four main ways that we learn. There's activity, there's learned knowledge. Someone who's listening to me right now, you're getting learned knowledge. You're learning from me, but you haven't tested it. Okay. Then there's activity knowledge. Activity knowledge is 10 times more powerful than learned knowledge. Arthur Schopenhauer said, do the thing, have the power, right? When you experience something, it's so much more memorable. We think about, the Pythagorean theorem, which you may have memorized, versus your first kiss. Okay. Chances are you remember your first kiss. I don't know if you remember the Pythagorean. I don't.
Nope.
But
I remember learning about it.
So that's important. And then of course there's modeling knowledge. You find someone, you're like, I want the same results, just do what they do. And which is why I think it's really important that you work with someone that's done the thing, because they're not just teaching you theory, they're teaching you practice, right? They've done it themselves and not just selling the thing that they're selling you, that they've actually been out in the trenches doing the good work. And then finally, number 4, in terms of like how we learn, is going to be teaching knowledge, right? And so this is when the student becomes the teacher. And I, Chris, as I teach, it reinforces my own philosophies. I become much more passionate about what it is that I believe in, what I know needs to happen. And, a lot of what spurs me on is the urgency that exists out there right now. I don't want people, first off, marketers will flock to every good idea until they ruin it. What I want to do is what I'm going to explain, I don't want marketers to ruin it. So that's why we need to begin with this foundational, fundamental, your heart has to be in the right place, or you're going to ruin it for everybody. Exactly. And it's not going to work if you're not in integrity anyway. But I just want to share all of that first before we get into kind of the 3 elements of what you need in order to be incredibly successful, particularly again in the B2B world, and particularly if you sell high ticket items. And when I say high ticket, I'm talking $4,000 or $5,000 on up. People may, that's not high ticket. I don't care. That's my definition of what high ticket is. All right. You want to come up with a different definition for high ticket? By all means, I'm going to say it's $5,000 on up. But if you think it's $1,000 on up, or if you think it's $25,000 on up, cool. I'm going to say 5.
Okay. That's a perfect baseline too. So thanks for letting us know. Cause you always see the packages, right? I mean, I'm thinking of different conferences you go to. The digital one, maybe it's $97 or $997 for VIP, and then $1997 if you want to have dinner or whatever, right? So $5,000 and up is what we're talking about for high ticket. And then the thing I wrote down here too that I just wanted to put an emphasis on is time will promote or expose you, because yes, it is very difficult. Over time, people are going to start to see who you truly are. And are you in it for the money, or are you in it because you are truly passionate about it? You can fake it for a little bit, but you can't fake it for 3 to 5, plus years, unless you're an extremely awesome con man or something, right? But for the most part, people are able to quickly see that. And it's important as well for us to not really take advice from people who have not accomplished the things that we want to achieve, right? Because they're kind of doing the same thing we talked about before. They're teaching you stuff that they compiled from other free resources. They haven't actually done it themselves. So awesome. I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah. And one other thing I'll just point out, and, my very unique point of view and kind of experiences in this is, with 2,000 media appearances, 700 of them on TV alone, you really can't fake it on TV. You have to be a pretty good actor to pull one over on people.
You got to be yourself.
Most people are so much savvier than most marketers believe them to be. And this will be something that I'll probably repeat another time or two, is that there's, unfortunately, in the marketing world, a lot of gurus just treat audiences like dummies, right? And, we're going to put this tripwire on. They're not going to, it's like you just have to be very authentic and honest with people about, who you are, what you're doing. And if you're not, or again, if you're doing a video and your motivations are not in alignment, you're out of integrity with what you're saying. You cannot fool people. They will feel it. They may not be able to articulate it, but there's been so many times that, say my wife and I are watching a TV show, or maybe, at some point we're watching reality TV or something, like whatever, right? And so we're like, I don't like that person. Yeah, me neither. What is it? I don't know, right? It's part of that, right? Yeah. So in media training, my job is to watch folks on their TV segments and then slice and dice and break it down, like body language, tonality, energy. Words are actually the smallest part about that, but those are important. But all of that stuff really, really matters. And again, you're not fooling nobody today.
Right. People, their radars are at, finely tuned, and they can detect if they see something that seems sketchy, they're out, right? This happened to me the other day. A friend sent me to a landing page and was like, hey, check this out, free preview. And it was like kind of a sketchy page, didn't seem to have any credibility. It was like from another country, and you had to put in your payment information for the free preview. And I was like, this isn't that important to me. I'm just going to skip it, right? So that's a perfect example.
Absolutely.
But all right, 3 elements to be successful in these high ticket sales. Let's jump on into it.
Okay, so here we go. So number one, and we've talked about this before, we've already been talking about this, is you absolutely must have the foundation of generosity. And that must be, that must be communicated everywhere, right? So if one of our core values is democratization, we truly believe that everybody has a message that could positively impact the world. That's our fundamental belief about my influence. And so we believe that everybody has access to this information. That doesn't mean that I give my time away for free. I can't do that. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. That doesn't mean that I need to spend, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to my team to be able to do stuff for free for every person. But there are ways from a systems basis, or a content basis where I can do one-to-many. Being on a podcast, for example, is a way that I can give away content for free. And I can give away my absolute best stuff. I don't do that thing where it's just like, I'm limited, constrained by time requirements of just how deep I can get into this sort of thing. But there's no secrets that I'm going to tell you everything. And so people will know if you're truly generous with your time and your content and your wisdom and your experience. And I really like that. And I think that I want to inspire other people that have done well in business. Start giving more away for free. Stop requiring, like you just said, $7.49. You can have my tripwire. No, thanks. I'm moving on. Right? Just go ahead and give it away. What are you afraid of? Right? You'll do okay on the back end if you truly work to build proximity with that audience member. And don't remind me about that. Ask me about proximity and familiarity after this, because I want to make sure that we really hit that very, very hard, because that's really what it's all about today. So number one, you have to lead with generosity. This is one of the 3 legs of the stool, right? Number 2 is it's just a reality that you will be judged mercilessly and superficially based on your perceived authority. Authority is everything today. So, Chris, you even said it. So I go to this dude's website, I look around, and it just doesn't seem like, there's not a lot of indicators of authority, right? And what are indicators of authority? Media logos, clients I've worked with, testimonials. If I do a vanity search on someone's name, what comes up? You can Google my name and I can tell you what's going to come up, right? There was a Josh Elledge who was a contestant on The Bachelorette.
I think I saw that.
I was doing so good until that guy came along last year. I dominated the Josh Elledges on Google, but he got booted out in the first episode, I believe. So he which is a nice guy. I've actually connected with him. So
that's funny.
But yeah,
I've met another Chris Bello as well, who was actually an insurance agent in my market. And he's like, hey, all my clients are asking me if I got into real estate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But I own the domain. So
I'm thinking of I think I may have isn't there a Chris Bello who's launches out of No, there's you.
I think there's an artist. I've tried to compete
there's one
with
that like he was on
usernames before.
AGT, but that's not the right name. And he launches out of like rockets and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
I'm not sure, but
Bello the Magnificent
cool.
or something. Oh, it's Bello Christopher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What is it? Bello Christopher AGT. Wow. I know. Maybe not. I'll think of it later.
That's too funny. So,
no, it's Bello Knock. No, I was so off.
Bello Knock.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. All right. So, yeah. So again, generosity is number one. Too. Number two is authority. People are going to check you out. So what should you do? If you understand the kind of stuff that you look for before you decide to engage with somebody, okay, what are the things you do? You do a Google search, you look at their website. Maybe you look at the signature. If you're going to cold email people, good luck with that. But you better believe people are going to look at your signature and say, who is this? Who is this Josh Elledge guy? Right?
What does he do?
So I'm going to design my signature so that you know, okay, this guy's legit, right? And another one would be your LinkedIn profile. How much time have you spent to max out that platform? My recommendation would be that you spend about 2 hours a week just dedicated to improving your authority. Maybe it's a profile on, some directory or something like that. You should hire VAs to, people who are not going to embarrass. They're going to do a very, very good job at this to make sure that you're listed everywhere that you need to be listed. Do you have a knowledge panel on Google? Do you have a Wikipedia article? Some of these things are going to be a little out of reach initially, right? Are you on IMDb? Are you, do you have reviews on Yelp or Facebook page? What can you get more reviews? What can you do to solicit more reviews? These are all things that are going to move the needle. So what's going to happen, right, is we all do this psychologically. We're looking at somebody and we're trying to make a decision as quickly as we can. And we do this because we're bombarded with ad messages. And so we have to try and suss people out as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And it's unfair. It's superficial, but it's the way that we work. Someone might be cold emailing me and they might be that might be one of the greatest opportunities I'll get all year. But because they cold emailed me and we don't have a relationship yet, and there's no indicators that this person is someone that I really should be spending my time with, I'm going to unfairly say, sorry, I just don't have time, because meanwhile, I'm trying to quickly delete, 40, 50 other emails out of my inbox. So that's just the reality of the world. So you're going to have to spend time and just work on that. Should you have a media kit? I'd recommend it if you want to be a guest in the media. Again, really spend some time on your about page, your bio, your headshots. That's an easy one. And matter of fact, that's one of the easiest things I think you could do is you could take your headshot that you have on all your social media profiles, go to a website, and I'm not going to remember it right now, but there's a website that you can upload your headshot. You could use it for like dating, business, or social, and people will rate you on the quality of your headshot. If you go to my YouTube page, if you go to youtube.com/upmyinfluence and you scroll back last year, I did a video, sort it by popularity. You will find a video I did about business profile image secrets. Watch that video. I spend 16 minutes and I mean, it's absolutely everything you want to know about, how to make sure that you have an absolute incredible headshot, because that headshot follows you everywhere around the interwebs.
Very true.
Yeah, that's like I think my fourth most popular videos. Go watch that video, and then I'll let you know what that free service is. You can upload your headshot to.
I did not even know about that thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's free. You just go and you vote on a bunch of other people's, and then you'll get crowd info, and people will let you know. They'll let you know. But listen, that matters. Okay, here's the thing. Your typical potential client is never going to let you know why they didn't engage, why they didn't opt in, why they didn't subscribe, why they didn't email you back, why they didn't DM you back. They'll never let you know. I'm telling you, it's because you failed the smell test.
Yeah.
And so you just have to pass the smell test. So again, generosity is number one. Number two is authority. And I could spend hours talking about authority, and that's my background. Okay. Then finally, number three is you need to leverage platform. Platform is the greatest gift that all of us have access to. I don't care how new you are in business, you have access to platform, right? So at the beginning, your platform may be small. If you start a podcast, you're going to start off with just a few listeners, right? It's your mom and that's about it.
Yep. That's so true.
We always count them up. But here's some secrets. Here's some things you could do. There are Facebook groups that you can join. And if maybe there might be some rules where you have to engage a certain amount first, maybe you could join a subreddit and you might be able to go live there. You might be able to go live in this Facebook group, and the Facebook group is filled with people. Now, as long as you're providing value and you're abiding by the community rules, okay, here's one thing that I did. There was, my wife and I recently went to a conference, and there was somebody there. I'm a nobody. Like, this is not my world. But there were a couple of people that I wanted to build a relationship with. And so how do you build relationships with somebody? Well, if they don't know you from Adam, then you're going to have to somehow, they recognize. So here's the thing, right? We all know that we're the combined average of the 5 people we hang around with most. Yep. So if you have someone that's looking to increase their authority within a certain area, and I'm a nobody, they're going to look at me and go, who are you?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So now what I was able to do is, this was the gal that was running the conference, right? And mainly all I wanted to do is, just hoping that I could, number one, just do something nice, because I love doing nice things for people. But number two, I was thinking, well, hey, it might be good if she knows who my wife is, because my wife's one of the speakers, whatever. And if it leads to, who knows, right? Here's one thing. Here's another thing. Quit being so specific with your asks. Yes. You might want to sell that thing, right? But be open to the fact that there might be something way better. Be open to the fact that where you plant your seeds is not necessarily where you will reap your harvest. But one thing I know for sure, boy, I'm channeling Oprah. What I know for sure is that when you lead with generosity, and when you're just a nice person and you do nice things for people, particularly, for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because you never know where that leads. And I think anyone who's been in business any amount of time has had that experience when you get someone that contacts you out of the blue, you're like, well, how did we connect? Like, oh, well, so-and-so introduced me to you. I don't even know so-and-so. How did they know to introduce you to me? Well, you find out, and all of a sudden it's like, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing. And it's because you did something nice. I just had this happen. $25,000 client enrolled last week. And I'm like, I don't even know the person I did know the person, but I hadn't talked with them in like 4 years.
That's amazing.
And just keep on doing nice things for me. So anyway, so I went live to a group that I knew that she and I were both a part of, a Facebook group. And I said, and I just went live with my phone and I say, tell us how things are going here on the ground, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, tell me, what's the event all about? How do people get tickets? And you got to think about, like, what does she want, right? She wants to sell more tickets, right? And so if you go to an event organizer and you're like, like, I've got dear friends, and without asking, can I be a speaker? Because everyone does that.
Yep.
Because everyone's just looking up for number one. But instead, it's like, what can I do to support them and promote them and do nice things for them? And maybe I don't have an ask anytime soon, but I save my asks, right? Save your ask, right? And at some point, I don't want to be like, the Godfather, but it's gonna, someday there may be I'm not going to do
there may be a favor.
But you know what I mean, right? Just save your asks, save it for a rainy day. And if you got nothing that you need right away, awesome. Because that's one thing that everybody does, is if you reach out to me cold, one of the very first things I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what does Chris want? And we all
what's
do
in
that.
it for me?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so if you can let someone know, it's like, yeah, I don't really need anything. What can I do for you? Like, I'm good. Like, I'm really busy doing my thing over here, but I love what you're doing and I just want to support you. Right. And it's it. and there really is no ask at the end, what have I just done for that relationship there? Like, that's like, Josh is someone that I can trust.
Yes.
And that's, and that's what an amazing position you could put yourself in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, boy, there's so much more I could do on this, but so in terms of platform, okay, platform gives you the immediate opportunity to lead with generosity with about anyone that you want. If you have a podcast, then you could decide who you want to interview. You're the host, yeah. Right? And so why not be very thoughtful about who you interview? Not just about building the audience, because that's what you want, right? But who can you plant seeds with and just do nice stuff with, and try to show up in their life and go over and above, on your generosity to that guest. What do you think could happen? Now, I've made some great friendships as a result of now recording nearly 1,000 episodes of The Thoughtful Entrepreneur. Chris, it's all I do for marketing. It's all I do for sales. It's all I do for growth. I mean, we have social media going and stuff, but me, that's all I do. Is every week I interview about 12 to 15 people every single week, and I build 12 to 15 new amazing relationships. Takes a while to get up to that speed. And some people, like especially podcasters, are hearing what I just said, and they're like, they just fell out of their chair. Or they did a spit take or something like that. Like, how on earth do you record 12 to 15 episodes? What else are you doing?
That's what you're doing.
What are you doing? What do you spend your time with? Why wouldn't you talk with potential partners and influencers and amazing, successful people? Why would you spend your time just hanging out in the audience? Why not just dominate your platform and build tons of relationships? So if I record 15 episodes, which is how many I schedule, right? So 15 is 7.5, they're 30-minute episodes. That's 7.5 hours of my time. I don't do my own editing. And at the beginning, if you have to do that because of budget or whatever, it's just going to take you some time.
Yeah.
Okay? But when you're consistent, okay, and I'm not going to tell you that I have, hundreds of thousands of listeners. I don't. All right. I probably, I think my typical episode is about 1,000 downloads. Like, it's not that big. But it's irrelevant. Because I'm leveraging the platform to invest in this relationship and do something nice for somebody else. And if it turns into a sales relationship, cool. If it turns into a partnership relationship, cool. If I can do something else nice for them. I can't tell you how many books I buy so many books from guests that I've had on the podcast. And I read them all, especially if they're audiobook. But yeah. So that's a great business model, and get really, really good at, at leading with, this confident generosity. Like, I am here. I have a mission to do. I have purpose in what I do. And I'll just say this. I'll close with this, Chris, because I know there's a few things we need to get to. Holy crap, this time's going quickly.
This is all good stuff, though. Please continue.
Yeah. When you are in business and you are obsessively focused upon sales and revenue, I get it. I've been there more times than I care to, than I wish I needed to. But I know what that's like, to be stressed out of your mind when it comes to money. Listen, money issues still, like if you're growing or you're shrinking, you're going to have cash flow issues. Like those things still happen. And don't let anybody lie to you. Everybody has cash flow issues from time to time. And anybody who says that they don't, they're just trying to keep a facade. All right. That being said, let me tell you how to make that whole thing a lot easier. When you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, and this is my exercise. I don't do a whole lot in terms of morning ritual, but I do this. Before I look at my phone, before I go to the bathroom, before I go to the shower, or go get espresso or whatever, right? There's three things I do. I think of, what am I thankful for? And I come up with three things, and I just think about, well, why am I thankful for that? Right. And I do that. It takes me, in most of the time, no more than like 30 to 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's all I do. I'm telling you, that has absolutely been one of the biggest hacks in my life in terms of making sure that my emotions are where they need to be. When your feet hit the ground and your first thought is, who am I going to sell to today? business is hard. And that was just a swear word right there that I bleeped out for myself. Business is hard when you obsess on who am I going to sell to every day.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning and you're like, what value do I get to give? What good do I get to bring into the world? Who do I get to serve today? What lives do I get to change today because of my very unique experiences and background and my particular set of skills, right? That sort of thing. Business life is easier. It just really is. You will find yourself in the flow much more easy. I don't have the esoteric answers or the spiritual answers for that. All I know is that it works. And you will be happier. And guess what? You'll attract a lot more money.
Absolutely.
Because people will feel no desperation in your breath. If you're in sales, you have to sell for your company, and people know you need to sell for your company and you need business, it's hard. When you don't need to sell and you're like, and that's truly your energy, like, again, you got to make sure things work. I'm not saying don't be a dummy with your money or whatever like that. I mean, you got to make the money, but you can't let that permeate your energy.
Yep.
So like I said, if you got to take a part-time job or whatever to make sure the bills get paid, do that. Don't put yourself in a desperate position. Been there, done that. It sucks.
It does. And your energy is super contagious. People can get, I mean, like we talked about earlier, their radar is finely tuned. They can get a read on, are you just trying to make the sale? Are you just in this for yourself? Or do you really care about my best interest and what's best for me? And it's so funny how that works. When you act desperate and you have the commission breath for the sale, people are repelled by that. But whenever you don't truly need it and you're like, hey, I'm good, whether we work together or not, it's not going to kill my business. I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to miss a mortgage payment next month if this deal doesn't close type of thing. They know that you are in it for the right reasons and that your best interest or their best interest is at heart rather. And that goes a long way. Referrals, more business, multiple transactions. It's really magical. I see this all the time in real estate with my clients as well. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, it's just, we have over 100 high ticket clients now. Awesome. Without my influence, it's much easier to sell today.
Oh yeah.
And even when we launched this new product, even though I was successful in other areas, it was harder. It was just hard. My conversion rate now is pretty, it's really high.
You got it well dialed.
Because no one can argue with the fact that no one else is buying it or blah, blah, blah. No, people are buying it. Whether or not you want to get on the train, we're still headed to Albuquerque. So it's up to you if you want to jump on board. We'd love to work with you. If you don't, that's totally cool too.
Yeah. It's almost like the takeaway close.
Oh, and you don't do the dumb stuff of trying to sell to people that it's not a fit for. Don't sell to bad clients. You could tell that it's not really a fit. Stop selling. I had one guy, I kind of mentioned, we could potentially work like this, if we did work together. This is how I'm working with all these other clients. This is kind of what we're creating there. And he started talking about something else, like his affiliate program. And I was just clearly, I've done this so many times. I'm like, oh man. So it sounds like you're really just looking for affiliates. I'm in a really weird position where I can't do that. I'm in and I blame myself, right? I was like, oh man, I'm not
a good fit. Right.
Yeah, no. And I wouldn't be able to do that. But listen, I am so thrilled for blah, 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 and how I can support you or whatever like that. And I'm not going to try and push a wet noodle. It's it's either, what one thing that you'll learn, in sales is that some will, some won't. And some add so what. And I don't think that's necessary, unless you need that for your own bruised ego. But it's you want to work with the willing, and you also want to work, you want to go where you're celebrated. So what I found is that, if I'm selling big ticket, which I do, and again, our ALV, our average lifetime value or 1 year value, it's about $25,000 when we engage with somebody over the course of the first year. I don't sell to $500 clients. That's not a good use of my time. It would be very, very frustrating. So it's very important for me to make sure that I'm in the right room.
Yep.
And so how do you get in the right room? Well, again, law of averages, if you want to get onto It's like in the movie I used to use this example. It's a little dated now. Finding Dory. And I don't know if you've even seen this movie.
Just like 2 weeks ago,
which is one of the greatest movies ever made. And so Gerald the sea lion that's my spirit animal. He's a goofy, Google Gerald the sea lion. That's me. That's my spirit. It's completely dorky, completely, awkward. So he wants to get on the sea lion rock, and the other sea lions are mean and they won't let him on. The only one time that he's able to get on the sea lion rock is when they go, "Oh, Gerald, go and get us that bucket." And so he goes and gets the bucket. And because he goes and he does an act of service, they let him on the rock.
Yeah.
This is the secret. Serve. If you want to hang out with people, like, let's say, just honestly in business, on a scale from 1 to 10, you're about a 3. You're a little bit newer, whatever. And you want to work with someone that maybe has a bigger audience, maybe has, more indicators of success and more indicators of authority or whatever. Look, they're going to be able to figure that out really quick. You've kind of figured that out really quick. You need them more than they need you. Yep. So the way to spend time is service. You just got to do something nice for them. Find out what they really, really want. Listen, I've done a ton of media kits. I've done a ton of LinkedIn profile makeovers. That was a skill that, listen, I know how to do that. I've done those things for free for some very successful, A players, in our space. And as a result, I didn't ask for anything, especially at the beginning. Now, did the thing. They were like, "Man, that was really cool of you, blah, 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 blah." Fast forward 4 months later, I meet them at a conference. I knew they were going to be there. And so I talked with them and I'm like, "Hey, did that work out for you?" They're like, "Yeah, Josh, thank you so much for doing that. It was really cool of you," or whatever. It's like, "Hey, I hope you don't mind me asking, if I come across a really great guest for your podcast, who would that be? Can I intro, or how do you do that?" Right now, I could say, "How do I become a guest on your podcast?" But I'm not going to do that, right? Because I don't want to be too so I'm going to ask them, can I, do you take recommendations? How do you do that? Right. Blah, blah, blah. And they say, "Oh, well, and then I share, I don't know if I would be a fit. And listen, it would be a dream of mine, honestly, just as kind of a give back, because I've just been such a fan of the work you've done, blah, 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 blah. And then I just say, I've created two, in my case, again, not everyone has this, but lead with, I've spoke for whatever authority thing that you could share. So, I work with da, 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 and I create this outcome. In my case, I've created 2 7-figure companies. I've spoke for the Tony Robbins organization, love to, if you think I'd be a good guest, who on your team would I talk to about that to, for them to kind of vet me out or whatever. Yeah. And as a result, got invites to be on some pretty big podcasts.
That's awesome. And it's all, like you said, leading with service, because if you continue to do that, they're just going to be like, "Man, this Josh guy has added so much value to us," or "That one thing he did for us, we're still using that," or "That connection he made, I'm on that podcast next week." And so every time these little touch points, they're doing that thing. They're on that podcast where you made the introduction maybe, or they're interviewing that amazing guest. They're thinking about Josh, and then they go back to you. Yep. And what does Josh do? You see that they look at your LinkedIn profile, and then boom, maybe they sign up to be your client, your next 25K client for the following year, or maybe they refer someone to you, right? You mentioned that earlier. You have someone's cousin's brother, sister, refer somebody, and now you have some lead that you're like, "Who is this client? I don't even know them." And you can't remember, or maybe you met them years ago, but they've been following your work. They've been getting value from your free content, and now they're ready and in a position to invest in themselves or in their business with your product or service.
Totally. Yeah. Introductions. How much does it cost to make an introduction to someone if you know that they're truly the kind of person that they want to meet, right? A potential client or customer or something like that, or another amazing podcast guest or something like that. Mm-hmm. I get, right now I'm booked for folks to be on the Thoughtful Entrepreneur through the end of October. And we are 100% inbound. I don't go out chasing people. It's only because we've built up enough goodwill with all of our guests, and we let them know, just listen, if you ever come across someone that you think would be a great guest, send them our way. We would be thrilled to celebrate them. So now you think about the dynamic there. So my podcast guest goes, "Oh, wow." And now when they make an introduction to me, I'm going to say yes, because they know what my qualifications are. So now they look good. My previous guest looks good in front of this new friend here. Yeah. I'm going to say yes, makes me look good because I'm generous or whatever, right? The new guest is like, "Man, these guys are both really nice," right? That's the world I want to enroll them into.
Absolutely.
Right? And who knows what will happen? And that's the thing too, is you got to trust the process. And I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of people that are hearing what we're talking about and they're going, this doesn't sound very efficient. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of work. Yeah,
it is.
And anyone who tells you otherwise, look at what they're selling. And that's all I got to say.
Look at how they're doing too.
But here's the thing, right? If it takes you 3 to 5 years to build kick-ass 6-figure income for the rest of your life, and you can walk away from corporate America, that's about the best retirement plan I've ever heard.
Yeah.
In terms of like other, 401ks or whatever, your employer is going to give you. So by all means, start it on the side, start it slow, start it steady, keep it going. Don't give up when everybody else. Another book I really highly recommend, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That's a good one.
The absolute best book. That was the best book that I read last year. And that would be another one that I would highly recommend is you show up, you keep doing it. I have clients that, they make 50 grand a month in YouTube ad revenue. And I'm like, well, how did you do it? They're like, I just kept making videos.
Yeah.
I don't know what, and I got better at it. Obviously my content got better and better and better. And it was definitely content that YouTube was looking for. But I kept on showing up. And when I say kept on showing up, 3 videos a week for over a year with 0 revenue.
Right.
Do you have the stomach to do that? If you do, chances are you're probably going to do pretty good in business. If you don't, you got to learn your grit somewhere. And I'll tell you that's one thing I'm grateful for my military experience, because in the military, failure is not an option, right? It's the mission and everything. Mm-hmm. You can't just say, oh man, this is too hard. Like I guess I'm not going to do it. No, you don't, you
don't say that. Yeah.
It's such a foreign concept. Like me even saying that, like I want to laugh when I say that, but that's very common. People say, oh, it's really hard. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, yeah. And there is no growth in the comfort zone. Right. And so you do need to be a little bit uncomfortable if you truly want growth.
100%. Lots of great things there. And I'm just thinking how funny it would be if you told, one of the commanding officers out there, I don't feel like doing this drill. I'm just going to go, sit on the sidelines.
I'm tired.
Yeah. I wish sometimes
it hurts, I don't want to walk anymore. I don't want to march anymore. Yeah. No.
A lot of us just need that accountability. And so I always recommend to people to find a friend or somebody who's maybe further along, or even if you have to pay an accountability coach just to simply hold you accountable, that will go a long way, because we say we want to do all these things, but when it comes down to it, it's too much work. It's going to take longer than expected. But if you have someone who's checking in with you, I have a thing on my Post-it note now that my accountability partner's like, have you done that thing you said you were going to do? And I'm like, no. Yeah. And
you do not want a friend for an accountability partner. You don't want someone that's going to let you off the hook. All they have to do is ask you 2 questions. Number 1, did you do the thing? And if you say no, all they have to do is, why? You said you were going to do the thing and you didn't do it. What was going on? What was the process that you went through? What was the thought bubble that you had when you ultimately, you said you weren't going to drink alcohol for the month, right? And then you did. So what was no judgment, but just tell me about your thought process.
Right.
Eating, dieting, going to the gym, all of that stuff. That's all you need an accountability partner to do. And someone is not going to, they're going to ask that second follow-up question, and you're going to have to be accountable to them.
Exactly. That's where the power is, because if you have the friend, oh, it's okay, don't worry, you had a tough week, they'll let you off the hook. Family does this too. You're working too hard, take a break. Oh, yeah. You don't need to do that. Don't take that extra call. I'm like, no, I have to do this because I committed to myself. And self-discipline can only take you so far sometimes when it gets very difficult. So lots of great things.
Social media, same thing. You can put the dumbest idea in the world for a business on there. I'm going to start a food truck. Never done that before in my life. I used to be an attorney, but this is, my dream of starting a food truck. Guess what? Everyone's going to be like, yeah, you go get them. Go compete with hundreds of other food trucks in your neighborhood. You don't have no clue what you're doing. Go follow your dreams.
Yep. Good luck.
Because there's that adage, right? That is, do what you love, right? And that's true to an extent. But there's a major caveat there. And that is like, I think it's better. Like of all people, I heard Howard Stern say this, right? It's like, it's stupid blankety blanket advice, right? It's just, you got to do what you're good at. And that's actually, I really like that advice. Don't do what you love, do what you're insanely good for whatever reason. It's just because you've, and that's really what separates champions from regular run-of-the-mill folks, is they do it bored. They keep loving it. Why do some people are just geniuses at math? It's because they don't tire of it. For whatever reason, they like it. Me doing 1,000 podcast episodes. Why do I do that? Other people are like, they're like, they would
Crazy.
Never do that. They just thinking about it exhausts them. It's because for some weird reason, I love it. And I keep doing it, and I enjoy it a lot. Gaming, or watching football. I'm just not really into it. But you know what? There are people that like it, if they think that that's valuable, they can name all these stats and every player for the past 40, 50 years. Cool. I guess, that's just not my jam.
Right.
But for other people it is. And we're all wired differently. And the thing that you're wired for is a strong indicator of the thing that you should probably be doing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I love that, Josh. And I think I heard Mark Cuban say it. There was a video that he had said something similar where if you do what you're good at, people love to do things that they're good at, right? So if you're continuing to do that thing and you get better, you're going to actually start to love it, even if you didn't love it. I mean, there's like a fine line there. If you absolutely hate it and you don't want to do that thing at all, or you're selling something you're not passionate about, there's no alignment. But there are going to be things. It can't always be just roses and rainbows. There's going to be things that we don't like about any kind of business. Even if we love what we do 90% of the time, there's that 10%. Yeah. But as we get better, as we dial in our systems and our teams, maybe we could even learn to love that 10% a little bit more, or we could delegate that part.
Yeah. And don't do it. Honestly, don't do anything just because, I think I could make some money at this thing.
Right.
Look, you can make money at about anything. Some things are a little bit easier than others. But, again, I think there's, try to find what makes you truly unique in the world, right? What can I do? So my background, for example, who else has had 2,000 media appearances and blah, 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 spoke, done the things that I've done, right? So I should say, well, if I have this, and this, and 99.9999% of the planet has never done these things, can I use these very unique things to provide a service that I am uniquely qualified to do? And that's what I do. So that's why I don't have any bones about telling people, listen, this is absolutely my zone of genius. And I don't know of anyone who obsesses on this, talking about high ticket sales systems, for example. I don't know anybody that obsesses on it like I do. And I've got the results to back it up. So henceforth, that's why I do what I do. And in fact, I teach this for free. And in fact,
that's amazing. So you're always leading with value. And I know we've got a couple of minutes left, or actually like a minute left, but I could go over by a couple if you'd like to. I know we talked about proximity and familiarity. Were there any last points you wanted to touch on for that?
Oh man.
We could do the bullet point version.
Okay. If you want the long version, here's the thing, right? Is I'll teach you for free. Okay. You have to meet one of these qualifications and I'll give you a free scholarship. If you don't, you're making money, you could pay for it. All right. Yeah. But if you are a military veteran owned business, if you are a woman owned business, minority owned business, LGBTQ owned business, if you are making $250,000 or under any of those qualifications in your business over the past 12 months, then I would love to give you our course for free. Now, you have to click on the right link, and that's the first test. And that is if you go to upmyinfluence.com/free, it'll explain our high ticket sales coaching program. Okay. Don't worry about the dollars and the ticket, whatever. Scroll down or do a Control F on the page and find the word scholarship. Now, please learn about it first. And don't sign up if you're not going to do anything, because that would be a waste of your time and my time and everybody's time, stuff like that. So don't do that. But eventually make sure you find the button that says, do you qualify for free scholarship? Click on that button. It'll take you to a separate page where you can apply. And again, as long as you fit one of those qualifications, then I will give you my high ticket sales coaching program for free. Right? It's the sprint version of the full 1 year program, but that's enough to keep you busy for a little while. And that is, I'm going to dive deep in terms of this concept of what today you want to be doing is all of your activity should be leading toward increasing proximity, because proximity is you and somebody else in a similar space. Maybe they're watching your content. Maybe they're hearing you or blah, blah, blah. They're reading you or whatever. They're getting to know you. They're in the room with you, right? So proximity, time together, leads to familiarity. Familiarity then ultimately leads to know, like, and trust. So what we talk about is you want to create what's known as familiarity bias. Familiarity bias is when you run up to a celebrity and you're like, I love how you're blah, 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 blah. Like when I met Huey Lewis in the green room, right? I tried so hard to play it cool and I could not. And I think I wasn't too bad. So anyway, but I definitely want to get a picture with him. And Ussie, as they say in the UK, I took an Ussie with him. So, that's what you want to create. So you want to create systems that lead to familiarity bias, because then they feel like they know you. And then ultimately, when you get to spend time with them, and again, you have to think about and consider who it is that you're trying to build time with. Are they higher than you in business? And if so, you're going to have to give away something pretty darn valuable in order to earn their attention. But then they're going to build up that know, like, and trust. And that's who we do business with. Okay. My neighbor, Karen, she's a good Karen. When we moved to the neighborhood, I said, well, what do you do? What do you guys do? And she goes, well, we own a landscaping company. I'm like, oh, cool. I just hired these other knuckleheads because I saw a flyer or whatever like that. I didn't know who to hire, or someone else made a recommendation for somebody else. And she goes, well, we're more expensive. They're $80, we're $120 a month. And I'm like, I don't care. I like you guys. Like, I'm cool spending an extra $40 a month to get it if done right. I know that, like, I can do business with my friends. And so if you look at who, for the most part, who generally high ticket purchasers are, and who do they ultimately decide to collaborate with, do joint ventures with, partner with, buy big ticket coaching and that sort of thing. And they do with people that they already have relationships with. So your goal should not be to sell to them. Your goal should be to build relationships with your future clients. Yes. So what are the ways you can earn that relationship? So Chris, the upmyinfluence.com/ and it's, by the way, it's www.upmyinfluence.com/free. And that's where you get the free thing.
Okay. Awesome.
The free course. And it's the sprint course on my high ticket sales coaching program.
Wonderful. I'll be sure to link all that up in the show notes. And then
sweet.
Before I let you go, Josh, what is one key takeaway that you want someone to implement today?
Well, if for some reason you weren't paying attention when I was talking about the generosity when you get out of bed, please do that thing. Awesome. You might want to go back. In fact, if I could recommend one thing, is if you are listening to this podcast passively, I feel like the value and the content that I was sharing is based on decades of business experience, right? A lot of failures and a lot of successes. If you go back and maybe just find some of those key parts and write down notes and set action items for yourself, you find an accountability partner and you ask yourself, what are the things you're going to commit to? And by the way, number one should be, how can I be more generous in every part of my business? Right? How can I improve my authority in every part of my business? And how can I better leverage platform in every part of my business? Come talk to me in 12 months, because you will be in a radically different place in your business. I promise you that.
I truly believe that. Well, Josh, this has been so fun. We've talked about a lot of great stuff, and I've been furiously writing notes myself. So thank you once again. And everyone, make sure to go get that free course if you qualify for it. If you're doing more than that, then, maybe go purchase it, because you're doing pretty good. But yeah, Josh, thanks once again. And I'll let you know as soon as this episode is live. I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey everyone, Chris Bello here. Just wanted to thank you real quick for listening to the show, whether you're listening on podcast or YouTube or wherever it is that you may be listening. I wanted to make that quick offer about real estate help. I am in the real estate business. That is my main business, and how I make all my income and my living by helping others buy, sell, rent, or invest in real estate across the nation. If you have any questions at all, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. Again, that is chrisbello.com/real estate. I'd love to see if I can help you out in my markets. And maybe if you're in a market outside of the ones that I'm focusing on right now, I'd love to connect you with a real estate professional who can help fulfill whatever needs or services that you are requiring. So again, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. A great thing is when I connect you with a vetted professional, if I'm not able to help you myself, is whenever a transaction closes, I'm actually able to get a referral commission. So that can be a great way of thanking me for my content. It helps to support the show, and it helps me to continue to spend time bringing on amazing guests, doing these great interviews, spending a lot of time on creating content, and making sure that I can bring you the very best information that you need to grow professionally, emotionally, intelligently, and in every single area. We're all working on getting better at everything. And so my focus and expertise is in real estate. I'd love to be the one to help you again. If you're not interested in that, no worries at all. Please continue to listen to the show. Make sure you leave a review. It helps so much in getting new followers and sharing the message. And thank you once again for being a listener. I'll catch you on the next episode.